Hi, my name is Oscar Prado. The topic I've chosen to write about for the purposes of this research class is about the influence that technology is having on the secondary instrumental music curriculum. So the reason for choosing to look into how technology is affecting the music classroom stemmed from my belief that my top performing students I've observed are those students who I believe have limited screen time on certain technology that allows them to be more productive on their studies, including music. I also believe that the increased access to internet and other advanced technology is affecting the instrumental music curriculum in a subtle yet impactful way. And so for this presentation, I will be talking about two articles that are setting the stage for my paper. The first article by Rosen and his colleagues, Media and Technology Use Predicts Ill-Being Among Children, Preteens, and Teenagers Independent of the Negative Health Impacts of Exercise and Eating Habits. And the second one by Crawford, Rethinking Teaching and Learning Pedagogy for Education in the 21st Century, Blended Learning in Music Education. So the Rosen study examines the effects of the use of specific technologies among children, preteens, and teenagers in specific areas: physical problem symptomatology, psychological symptom manifestation, attention problems, and home and classroom behaviors. Although three hypotheses were used for this study, the first hypothesis was unhealthy eating will predict ill-being, even after factoring out parent and child demographics and daily technology use. Lack of physical activity will predict ill-being after factoring out parent and child demographics and daily technology use. And the third one was after factoring out both demographic data for parent and child, unhealthy eating and lack of physical activity and media usage will predict ill-being. The main question in pursuing the study, though, was after accounting for the impact of parent and child demographics, unhealthy eating, and lack of physical exercise on ill-being, would the use of technology in general or any specific technologies predict ill-being among children, preteens, and teenagers? The study found that overall, unhealthy eating did lead to increases in the four ill-beings of physical problem, symptomatology, psychological symptom manifestation, attention problems, home, and classroom behavior. Now, the screen time in the study is defined as time spent on television, computers, phones, and other electronic devices. And on average, preteens and teenagers, they spend about 7.5 to 10.45 hours per day on screen time. The lack of physical activity was shown to have little effect on the four ill-beings of children, but lack of physical activity does not have an effect on preteens and teenagers. The final portion of the study showed that increases of ill-beings is related to the use of technology. This study, this suggests that it is not sufficient for parents to urge their children to eat better and to exercise more in order to attain better health. This study results indicate that it is also important for parents to set limits and boundaries on technology use for their kids because, like the study says, screen time is not linked to is linked to poor health and is not necessarily about time displacement, meaning that because you are watching TV, therefore you're not exercising, that's why you're unhealthy. That's not necessarily true according to this study. More troubling is that the study found that parents are aware that their children live in a techno-cocoon. In other words, they're surrounded by technology. With this said, the study had some limitations. The primary concern of the study is that knowing that someone spends a certain amount of hours per day online does not indicate anything about the types of activities, and those activities themselves may be critical in impacting health. Along the same lines, the study also assessed raw daily screen time with television, DVDs, and video games, but did not assess the content of that screen time. Many studies suggested that violent content is responsible for psychological issues and behavioral problems. Examining the content would be important in refining the results of this study. So although the Rosen study demonstrates that screen time for children should be limited, and I personally agree, the rise in easier access due to cheaper costs and public funding is providing opportunities for students to engage more with technology. This is something that educators should embrace because it's simply not going away. For instance, the county where I teach provides Chromebooks, which are profitable computers to every student at no expense to the student and their families. So along with access to smartphones, students have a lot of information to engage with at their fingertips. So the second article I chose to explore explores the use of an online music education project used in a blended learning context to provide high-quality music learning resources to Australian rural and remote schools. So I chose this study for its significant findings that demonstrate that technology used in a meaningful way can change the music curriculum to be more student-centered. Technology is having an effect in the way students engage with the world. No longer is the internet for looking up information, and young people specifically, as the study demonstrates, are learning through the internet by interacting, creating, and collaborating with information and the people. So the goal of the study was to show how the introduction of an online music project affects student interest in music, and to show the need for pedagogical change. So the online music education project was introduced to 20 teachers and 440 students. The data on the effects on the online music education project were assessed through a survey, semi-structured interviews, and data analyzed by technicians. Through these methods, it was determined that teachers gained confidence in the use of technology in their classroom as compared to before the music project was introduced. And as you can see from this graph, students' interest in music was also positively impacted by the online music project. So at the beginning of the year, about 140 students started using the project, and by the end of the year, this is a year-long study, 410 students were using this project. And students also showed increased interest to music over the project by increasing access outside of school. Students also showed an increase in instruments after the introduction of the music project. So, again, at the beginning of the year, I think I'm going to enjoy music, and the project was a question asked, and it was, not people. It seemed like students were not interested, and then I'm enjoying music, and the project, after it was completed, the graph is essentially showing what students were thinking at the beginning of the study, and so towards the end of the study, as you can see from the graph, students were enjoying the music project. So overall, this study shows the importance of the introduction of technology in today's classroom and the positive impacts it can have on both teacher confidence and students' interest in music.